Manchester United, a club with a legacy like no other. A dynasty built on dominance, flair, and relentless success under Sir Alex Ferguson. But since his retirement, United has become a case study in tactical misfires. From David Moyes' failed transition, to Louis van Gaal's possession puzzle, to Solskjaer's flaky transitions, and Ten Hag's pressing breakdowns, every system has collapsed. The question is, why? Why do United's game plans keep falling apart, and what does that reveal about the gap between expectation and reality at Old Trafford? In this video, we'll analyze each manager, what system they tried, why it failed, and what that teaches us about United's broader structural issues. Sir Alex Ferguson, the standard of success. Sir Alex Ferguson's tactical genius wasn't defined by a rigid formation but by adaptability and control. He mastered the traditional 4-4-2 while also switching to 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 when European competition demanded greater balance. This flexibility allowed United to remain unpredictable, blending pragmatism with attacking brilliance. His greatest strength lay in creating space for stars like Giggs, Scholes, Rooney, and Ronaldo to thrive, all while maintaining collective discipline. Ferguson understood the importance of timing, never hesitating to let legends such as Keane, Beckham, or Van Nistelrooy leave when it meant rebuilding the squad. This cycle of renewal kept United competitive across decades. But Ferguson's departure exposed how deeply tied United's identity was to his leadership. He left behind an aging squad, and the club struggled to replicate his adaptability and authority. His shadow loomed so large that every successor was forced to live up to a near-impossible standard, creating instability from the very start. David Moyes, the weight of expectation. When Moyes stepped into Ferguson's shadow, he tried to replicate the pragmatic 4-4-2 blueprint that had brought decades of dominance. He emphasized wing play and endless crosses, hoping to unlock defenses the same way Ferguson did. But United's midfield, with an isolated Michael Carrick and no Roy Keane-like enforcer, looked lightweight and exposed. His tactical ideas felt outdated, with a staggering 81 crosses attempted against Fulham highlighting a one-dimensional approach. Even his big signing, Marouane Fellaini, struggled to adapt, looking more like an awkward fit than the midfield destroyer Moyes envisioned. With Rooney and Van Persie often disconnected from the build-up, United's attack became predictable and toothless. The result was cautious football that neither stabilized the defense nor unleashed creativity in attack. Moyes failed to assert his authority, his tactics felt like Everton-level pragmatism rather than Manchester United-level ambition. The lesson is clear: inheriting Ferguson's squad without Ferguson's adaptability and aura was a tactical death sentence. Louis van Gaal, the possession puzzle. Louis van Gaal arrived at Manchester United in 2014, bringing with him the philosophy of positional play and a possession-heavy system. He initially set up in a 3-5-2 formation, relying on wingbacks like Antonio Valencia and Luke Shaw while later shifting to a more rigid 4-2-3-1. His signings, such as Ángel Di María, Daley Blind, Marcos Rojo, and Ander Herrera, were meant to add technical balance and control in different phases of play. Despite this vision, United's build-up was painfully slow and predictable, creating what fans called sterile domination. The team kept the ball but struggled to progress it quickly or create clear-cut chances, with much of the play reduced to sideways passing. Even with creative talents like Di María, Memphis Depay, and Wayne Rooney, the system stifled individual flair rather than enhancing it. This tactical failure became evident as goals dried up and Old Trafford grew restless at the lack of attacking intent. While Van Gaal built defensive structure and positional discipline, he suffocated spontaneity and risk-taking in the final third. Ultimately, his emphasis on control over creativity left United with possession stats to admire, but results and excitement to regret, a philosophy unsuited to the Premier League's pace and unpredictability. Jose Mourinho, the defensive fortress cracks. Jose Mourinho's reign at Manchester United was built on compact defense and swift counter-attacks, a philosophy he had mastered at previous clubs. His preferred 4-2-3-1 formation relied on double pivots like Nemanja Matic and Paul Pogba, shielding the backline while transitioning quickly to forwards such as Romelu Lukaku, Marcus Rashford, and Anthony Martial. In his second season, the system clicked enough to secure a second-place finish, but they still ended 19 points behind Guardiola's Manchester City. Despite investing in players like Alexis Sanchez, Victor Lindelof, and Fred, Mourinho never found the balance between attacking creativity and defensive stability. United lacked the physical, disciplined warriors that made his Chelsea and Inter sides ruthless in his trademark low-block system. Pogba struggled in deeper roles, Sanchez flopped, and the 4-2-3-1 often looked disjointed against pressing, possession-heavy teams. The tactical failure came when results dipped, exposing the reactive nature of his approach. Instead of proactive pressing football, United often retreated into negativity, frustrating both fans and players. Poor man management, rifts with Pogba and others, and an outdated defensive style meant Mourinho's fortress cracked, and ultimately collapsed under the demands of modern football. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the transition gambler. Ole's United thrived on quick counterattacks, particularly against top sides. His preferred 4-2-3-1 allowed Rashford, Martial, and Bruno Fernandes to devastate teams in transition, with Bruno's arrival in 2020 unlocking more attacking spark. Signings like Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and later Jadon Sancho were meant to provide balance, but the system was still heavily dependent on pace and individual brilliance. However, United often struggled when facing low-block teams that refused to leave space behind. The 4-2-3-1 setup offered little structure in possession, and players like Pogba, Van de Beek, and Cavani were rarely integrated into a cohesive attacking pattern. Instead, United became predictable, recycling possession without invention, waiting for a Rashford run or a Bruno moment to break the deadlock. Defensively, the McTominay-Fred pivot was frequently exposed, unable to shield the back line or progress the ball under pressure. This left gaps in midfield that quality opponents exploited, highlighting the lack of a sustainable system. The lesson from Solskjaer's era is clear: at a club expected to dominate possession, counter-attacks alone cannot form the backbone of a tactical identity. Erik Ten Hag, the pressing breakdown. Erik Ten Hag arrived at Old Trafford with the famed blueprint, a 4-2-3-1 formation built on high pressing, structured build-up, and fluid positional rotations. His vision relied on controlled possession and coordinated pressing, with signings like Lisandro Martinez and Antony brought in to replicate his Amsterdam model. Early success was visible in Marcus Rashford's explosive form and Casemiro's leadership in midfield, suggesting United had finally found tactical clarity. But the Premier League's intensity quickly exposed flaws. United's defenders, including Harry Maguire and even Martinez at times, looked uncomfortable playing out under heavy press, while midfield gaps appeared when Christian Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes failed to sustain pressing cohesion. Against high-energy sides like Liverpool and Manchester City, the press collapsed, leaving the backline isolated and overrun. The tactical failure became clear: without elite ball-playing defenders and press-resistant midfielders, Ten Hag's system looked fragile. Injuries to key players, inconsistent performances from new signings like Mason Mount, and poor recruitment alignment, such as spending heavily on Antony, who hasn't justified his role in the pressing system, magnified the cracks. What began as a promising tactical project evolved into a structure easily dismantled by opponents, exposing the gap between Ten Hag's Ajax ideals and United's current reality. The broader lesson: structural versus tactical failures. Every Manchester United manager since Ferguson has had a distinct tactical identity, yet all of them ultimately failed. The reason is simple: the club's broken structure, marked by poor recruitment, lack of vision, and short-term fixes, undermined their plans. Ferguson thrived not only because of his tactical brilliance but also because he enjoyed control, alignment, and patience from the club. Modern United managers, by contrast, are caught between fan expectations of dominance and squads lacking the tactical identity to deliver it. Conclusion. So why does every Manchester United manager fail tactically? Because tactics don't exist in a vacuum. Ferguson thrived on control and structure, but since then, every successor has been undermined by mismatched squads, broken recruitment, and the crushing shadow of the past. Until United fixes the structure, no system, whether possession-heavy, defensive, or transition-based, will thrive. The tactical failures aren't just about the managers, they're about a club still searching for its identity.